Why is it some guys have the need to make you whoop their ass? Some guys are literally like that. I mean, there are people that if you're around them, and I grew up in a pretty tough neighborhood where whooping somebody's ass was kind of a rite of passage. Now, I'm not a big tough guy. I never was. But I was always one of those kind of cats that was always able to hang out with everybody else. Everybody kind of dug me. I hung out with the tough guys. I hung out with the brains. I hung out with the funny people. I hung out with the athletes because I was able to hang in each one of those areas. So I kind of fit in. So I never really understood, the concept of, the tough guys having to, whoop somebody's ass to feel like you were a part of them. And I was able to avoid that for the most part. I mean, I had a tough time as a child, with bullies and stuff like that, but I'll talk about that in another show. But what happened was I was going out to California for the first time, and I didn't know I was going to be living there, but I was going out to California. And I was doing my shows, and I was a kid at the time. And I noticed that as a comic, I still had free time during the day, and I figured I had my act memorized. I just need to do another gig just to stockpile some money. So I went to this place that detailed cars. And I'm working there with it. And the funny thing about it was I was the only brother there. Okay, I wasn't the only brother there. There was basically all brothers there. But I was the only brother there that hadn't gone to jail. And these guys are all in jail for criminal offenses. I mean, violent ones. So I'm riding the bus with them, and they're all, telling their criminal stories. Oh, yeah, and then I did this, and then these two guys, I had this gun, and blah, 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 blah. And they're looking at me like I'm going to join in with a story. I didn't have any stories. I'd never been arrested before. So they're looking at me kind of side-eyed. But we were still having a good time. We were still cool. And I noticed that these cats, sometimes they have to test you. I didn't know that at the time because I never got really tested when I was younger because everybody dug me. We're working there, and there's one guy who was actually pretty cool with, was getting a little smart alecky. Not to the point where I would get pissed off at him, but I would just go, what the hell's up with that? A little smart alecky, got it running his mouth a little bit. And then he got to the point where he started getting a little physical. He kind of punched in the arm, and not in a good-natured way. And then he started to get a little too physical. And I realized, I said, oh my God, this guy's fucking testing me. This guy's fucking testing me in front of these people. And I realized these guys had all been in jail. They had all whooped some people's ass. They had all been shot, stabbed, and all this kind of shit. And I realized that if I'm going to survive hanging around with these dudes who I have to ride back with, I gotta take this guy and teach him a lesson. So he's doing all this stupid stuff, and all of a sudden now the guys are looking at me like, yeah, as if to say, oh, let's see what this motherfucker's gonna do. Because I wouldn't put up with that shit. So the guy's starting to look around like, yeah, I'm punking him. So I take him around the back where I know there's no security cameras, and I said, listen, I understand what you're doing. I'm gonna tell you right now. Either you calm down, or we're going to have a problem. He yells around the corner, oh, little man here think we're going to have a problem. I can hear the other guys laughing around the corner. And then I realized, I got to take care of this right now. I said, dude, if we're going to have a problem, ain't no cameras around here if you got a problem with me. Let's handle this right now. And I beat his ass. He was trying to fight me, but as it turns out, my hand speed was too fast. It was a lot tougher than he thought, and I fucked the guy up. So we walked back around. It was very apparent by the fact that his face looked like somebody had rolled it in lava, and I basically had one wrinkle on my shirt. It was pretty obvious what happened, and everybody was looking at me like, "Oh shit! Oh, ooh, ooh," and they were laughing at him. And it just goes to show how weird things are. Why do some guys feel the need to test everybody? You see that in every aspect of everything. You see it in sports, where one player is going up against another player. Instead of just saying that this guy's great, I'm great, we're going to play on Sunday, and we'll see what happens. They got to say, oh, he ain't nothing, he sucks, I'm the best, he blows, he ain't shit, and all that ridiculousness. It happens in politics when they sit there and they say these ridiculous lies about each other. And the people who are looking at it objectively can say these people are lying. But if you have an ideology on one side or the other, you look at it in a skewed way. And anybody who's sitting in the middle, because I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, I'm an independent. If you're sitting in the middle watching and looking objectively, you're going, what the hell is this? And you see that these guys are testing each other. How far can I push this candidate before he snaps or she snaps? How many awful things can I say about this person's family until they snap? Everybody is testing everybody. Why? You know, why is that necessary? That always confused me because I have no need and no interest in testing people. All I'm going to do is show up and treat you with respect because you exist. And all I ask you to do is treat me with respect because I exist. I don't want to fuck that guy up behind the car wash. I didn't want to do that. We were cool before that. But he had to prove something because he didn't think he could test the other two guys because they were like 6'4". And he was roughly my height. He was maybe an inch or two taller than me. He was like 6 feet or whatever. You know, he was only a couple inches taller than me. So he's thinking, oh, well, let me test this guy. I'm bigger than him. And then what happens? Me, someone who doesn't like fighting, beat the shit out of this guy. Why? Why did we have to go there? You know, we don't have to keep testing each other all the time. All you got to do is treat people with respect. I never understood that. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. And you see people who are 50, 60 years old still acting that way. Still trying to, quote, test each other, unquote. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. You passed the only test that matters. The sperm and the egg got together and they created you. That's the only test you should have to pass as a human being. Just be cool. You know, because you don't want a very, very attractive black comedian like myself to take you behind the car wash and beat the shit out of you. Even though I wouldn't do that anymore because, you know, I don't like getting hit. Fuck that shit.